Welcome to First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. I'm your host, James Gardner, certified athletic therapist, certified strength and conditioning specialist, yoga instructor, human being. This platform, for the pros, by the pros, anybody in the performance space, and beyond. Welcome here to share in the stories of professionals, experiences, journeys, learning along the way. It's a platform to connect, to network, and to be a part of a community that cares, with conversations that matter, experiences that resonate, and generate ideas, thought-provoking, organic dialogue, passionate pros. Brought to you as always by First Star Therapy, MobilityTape, Epic, and Benchmark Athletics. In association with the Canadian Athletic Therapists Association. It's First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being a part of it. Cool. All right, welcome to Let's Chat. First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy roundtable, session 40 already, and I didn't realize it was a nice round number, and then all of a sudden it pops up that we have our primary sponsor, Noronha of MobilityTape, on as our lead guest, and then following up with second and third spots, Luka and Jenalyn, the duo, the Canadian dynamic duo, the true Canadian dynamic duo, will follow up and give us their story in the dance world, performance world, athletic world, all of these things as we get going. So MobilityTape is our primary sponsor here on First Star Let's Chat, and Noronha is the founder, and the brain trust of this product is fantastic. So Jay, I won't even intro you. I want you to tell us a story of how MobilityTape came to be. And once we get there, we'll talk a little bit with some of the practitioners that are on here. And as we wind down with some of the talk with the MobilityTape, the product, the usage, some of the questions that therapists have sent my way or that may have that are on here, we'll jump over to you, Luka and Jenalyn, intro you formally, and then let you say hi, and we'll go from there. All right. So Jay, welcome aboard. Session 40, man, our primary sponsor, and what a product. The only heat activated kinesiology tape on the market. Give us the intro, give us the build up, how this product came to be, and we'll go from there.
Hey, James, thank you so much for that introduction. I'm so grateful to be on here with you, and I'm so grateful to be walking this journey with you. It's been absolutely amazing for me watching MobilityTape grow and start to take wings. You know, the company and the product really stemmed from the idea that we could do things better. And really, entrepreneurship is really about trying to improve on a process that already exists and refine an inefficiency, make a process better, make a process more efficient. And we at MobilityTape thought that, you know, when you look at the way kinesiology tape is used and you look at what therapists are doing in practice in their day-to-day life, the ability to bring together analgesics with tape was a no-brainer. The problem was, how do you do it? And our competitors did not successfully solve that rubrics. Mm-hmm. And we did, and we solved it back in 2016, and through 2017 we wrapped our heads around, okay, we have this great product, people love it. How do we bring it to market? What is our go-to-market strategy? And many people say to me, did you go to Dragon's Den? Did you talk to the guys? And I always say, no, I actually know two of the guys, but no, I didn't go to Dragon's Den. Yeah. because we didn't want to go that route. We wanted to remain therapist focused, and we wanted to remain focused on the journey that we were on. And the journey that we were on was really this idea that integrative healthcare involved mind, body, and spirit. It wasn't just about applying tape. It wasn't just about healing the ligament or the tendon or the muscle that was sore. It was really trying to get to the root cause of why that pain existed. Where did it come from? And how do we solve it at the root cause, as opposed to throw a piece of tape on it. And incorporating the analgesics with the tape brought us one step closer to that goal, because pain is really the inhibitor that keeps people away from rehab. It keeps them away from exercise. It keeps them away from movement. And movement is the basis of our ethos. It is the basis of our being. If we don't move, we are not healthy. If we don't move, we are not fit. If we don't move, we can't recover. So getting people to a point where they could move and work through that rehab, work through that that stumbling block that they were having was our ethos. And it wasn't about becoming big. It wasn't about, getting to market. It wasn't about, reaching everybody at the same time. It was about reaching the people who mattered. And the therapists are the people who matter. So that is why I'm so grateful to be here. I am thrilled that so many of the therapists in Canada from coast to coast are using the product. And every day I'm hearing from new ones that are learning about it and, asking me the question, why are you the best kept secret? So this is a platform where I think we are able to share these ideas with your audience. And for that, like I say, I'm super grateful. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And you touch on so many things that are so pertinent, like not only because we just had a big event this weekend with a practitioner's retreat that we ended up connecting with and having you there for a component part of as well. And but you talk about two products that are commonly used in the therapeutic space, right? An analgesic and tape. And then you ask people like, since this is an athletic therapy roundtable, I am an athletic therapist primarily. What do you do? Or people's association with what athletic therapy is, and it's taping. Tape my ankles, tape my this, tape my that. Just patch me back up so I can do whatever I need to do. And then obviously, like last week, TSN released a pain. Pain is a problem through hockey and pain relievers, and how these things are definitely problematic down the road. And you've tied an analgesic, a naturally occurring analgesic, and tape, two commonly used products, put them together, created something that I don't think is as well recognized as it will be definitely after this and beyond, because this is a product that has now recently, can I give away your secret with the government of Canada? Yeah, a natural healthcare product. It's been approved by the FDA and through the government of Canada as a natural health product. And this is a massive thing, right? Like as we move further and further into sports science and all these other things that are happening in the world of performance, whether that's job performance, life performance, this is purity, right? Like, so using a natural product and you're using something that's used commonly already and blending them together. So that said, I think that's a massive piece that we can touch on. And anybody who hasn't tried the product, like, feel free to reach out to me after this. Feel free to reach out to Jay after this. And we can navigate, trialing it and seeing how it goes. And this isn't necessarily a push for the product, but as a primary sponsor, I aligned with Jay through the authenticity of the product itself and through Jay as a human being. This is not about anything beyond, this is not about anything other than going beyond the issue, right? We're trying to help people get better. And that's it. Finding more of you was our theme, is our theme with our retreat and practitioner workshop that we worked with this weekend. And giving people a little bit more access to the things that they need is massive, right? So coaching them along through this product. So this is it. We had you out for a half-hour session with our guests at our retreat this weekend, tried it out, talked about it, smelled the product, felt the product, talked about it again, had you there for a yoga session, had you go through the yoga session. And this was a talking point throughout our retreat as well. And again, it's beyond the product, right? Here's something that we can filter into people's lives and not at all, not have any downfall to using this product. You try it, you like it, you try it, you don't like it, but there's no negative to using this product. You get a proprioceptive effect, you get an analgesic effect, you have cool colors. Like, you can do all the things that you can do with tape and get the support and the built-in aspects of what tape and what analgesics can be, but you're not ingesting, it's not hard on the liver, it's not hard on the kidneys, it's not all the things that pills and injections are for a lot of athletes, which I think is massive. And I'm sure, like, I know Luka and Jenalyn, as we get to them as well, they've used the product. And I'm just going off because I'm just so happy to have you on and have Luka and Jenalyn on here, and I can talk about it. I'm not a product pusher. I'm not a taper as a therapist. That's not my go-to. My go-to is, what can I do to empower you as the person who's in front of me to do what you need to do a little bit better now, a little bit better tomorrow, a little bit better in the Stanley Cup Championship, whatever it might be, a little bit better. And I think that's what your product does. And I think that's where the value sits in your product as well. But I am honored to have you on. I'm honored to have you as a primary sponsor of First Star Let's Chat and aligning with all the things that are happening. So are you okay if we just get into a couple questions with the product?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to, add one comment to your great presentation, and that is, when people ingest the pills, they're really taking a bazooka to a knife fight. And the old adage was, you don't take a knife to a gunfight. But when you ingest pills, whether they're the Tylenols or the Advils or the Elites or even the more prescriptive medications, you're taking a bazooka to a knife fight. Mm-hmm. And the reality is that over time has a meaningful effect on your health and your physicality. People don't see it and they don't realize it because it's a very slow and long run that they go through. But the average woman takes about 1,000 pounds of pills in their lifetime. And that's a astronomical amount of pharmaceutical product that you're putting through your system.
Absolutely.
Which for the most part is not actually used. 80% of that is metabolized by the body so that the body can, so that the liver and the kidneys can filter it out. So you're getting 20% of the effect. And that's why I say you're bringing a bazooka to a knife fight. Whereas with our product, you hit the nail on the head. It's very much a trial and error. You put it on, you see if you like it. If it doesn't work, try it in a different place. Try it a different way. See if it's the adhesion that's causing you problems. See if it's the duration that's causing you problems. But all the time, you're getting the benefit of that pain relief and that anti-inflammation. And that's helping you to move. It's helping you to get back into movement. It's helping you to keep moving. And that's why we at the company came up with the tagline, no limitations, because when you are limited by pain, you are limited. And we don't want people to be limited. So absolutely, that's my 2 minutes soapbox presentation. Shoot away with questions.
Yeah, well, stay on the soapbox because let's talk about this for a second before we get into any questions. Because here's the reality. I am not a pusher of tape. I'm not a pusher of anything other than putting in the work. And you can speak with athletes that I've worked with and they'll all say the same thing. He's gonna teach me some things. I'm gonna have to put in a lot of work. I'm gonna have to own it because that's what I have to do to get better. But when we talk about placing tape on somebody, whether there is a placebo effect or a truly scientifically proven effect at the other end, in the long run, there's not much of, it doesn't really matter. It's an advantage for the athlete, whether it's placebo or non-placebo. And here's a naturally occurring product that feels nice, it looks nice, it smells nice, it does a bunch of good things. Like, I'm not selling the product, but it is what it is. And through my personal use, since coming on board with you and just trialing it with some athletes that I've never worked with before in the past few weeks, putting it on a shoulder, putting it on a calf, putting it on a hamstring, putting it on a hip, and to a person, can I get that again in a couple of days? Because I love that. Like I dislocated my shoulder 6 months ago. My shoulders never felt that good. And whether the tape is actually healing the dislocated shoulder or making them feel aware, a little bit better, a little bit more able to do the things that they need to do, that's advantage. And that's the advantage we want to provide for athletes and working with athletes to empower them to be able to do what they need to do, as long as it's indicated, obviously. But then it comes to sort of like anecdotal evidence. So I use it, and these are anecdotes. These are people saying, yeah, I like it. This is James saying, yeah, I like it. It's good. It helps. I like it. Fine. Those are anecdotes. But there's also a piece of what we do that is an art form, and it's finding the things that people like, because when they like it, that is an advantage again. And so evidence-based practice, definitely part of what we consider. And there's certainly some evidence in terms of what you're using, the mixture, the tincture that you're using to create the glue, the adhesive, and the mobility tape. But I sort of lean a little bit further away from evidence-based and go to like evidence-informed. It's a little less heavy. Everything doesn't need to be proved by science, because by the time we wait for science to catch up, we're disproving the things that have already been proven, and then we end up in this cyclical battle. So anecdotal evidence in sport goes a long, long way. So long as the product is health driven, right? Like safe, effective, and accessible. And these are the things that are all of this, that is MobilityTape. So anybody who is on that has used the product and has a question, feel free to type it in or unmute yourself. I definitely have some that have come in from people already, or if you've used it and liked it, or if you've used it and not liked it, feel free, and we'll use the next couple minutes to sort of bat this around a little bit, because I think this is a product that's not really that well known, right? We see it on TV in all the fancy colors from different, doesn't even matter what the name of the companies are, but the different colors are fancy, and some of that is an advantage too, because it matches their sneakers. And that's important in certain sports, to have your sneakers match the tape that's showing underneath your t-shirt. Like, that's important. Right? And take it away, but again, that's an advantage, because I worked in baseball for a long time, and one of the things was look good, feel good, play good. That's an advantage. So if your tape looks good, that helps you look good. Fine, it matches your glove, your cleats, your spikes.
I want to just pick up on what you said there, James. Feel good. How do you feel good when you're in pain? You know, it's very much a challenge that we have. And, you know, you're absolutely right to say evidence-informed. Evidence-based in this area is very challenging because, you know, when you look at the empirical data that's out there around kinesiology taping, there's a lot of evidence that shows that it works. Fortunately, there's also a lot of evidence that shows that there's no effect. And you can come down as a therapist on either side of that spectrum. So where should somebody come down? And that's what I sort of wanted to address here. Where should somebody come down? I've had people come to me and say, this is a placebo effect. I've had people come to me and say, this is amazing. I couldn't move before. My response to them is very consistent with what you're saying. 80% of our job as therapists is getting people mentally in the game. Mm-hmm. Physically, we can move them through the rehab, we can move them to the finish line, but 80% is mental. And if putting the tape on gets them there mentally, what's the downside? Put the tape on them, slap it on. If the other 20% helps them over the finish line to get them back into the game, you've just done your job with 5 stars. In my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe we don't want to slap it on. Maybe we want to be a little gentler in our application at times. But hey, sometimes we might want to slap it on. But absolutely, I think like all of those things are crucial, right? And yeah. So let's just talk about. Let's just talk about the tincture in terms of like its breakdown. Like, what are the products in MobilityTape that make it an analgesic? So just talk to us about that a little bit, and then I think maybe we'll jump over to Luka and Jenalyn, and we'll come back to you if that's cool with you. But like, so as a product, this is kinesiology tape. It has the stretch. I have it right here. It has great colors. You know, it has all the things that you need. It has the stretch. It has the give to it. It's a cotton-based product. And then what makes it different? What is MobilityTape?
So what really makes MobilityTape different than our competitors is we solve the rubrics of putting the analgesics right into the glue. We mix the glue with menthol and camphor, and we use the synthetic version of camphor, which is Borneo, in the manufacturing process. These two naturally occurring elements provide pain relief and anti-inflammation. And where Health Canada's approval comes in is because of the percentage that we have. So we have about 5% of each of those in the ingredients. We qualify as a natural health product, which none of our competitors do. None of them have a natural health product stamp of approval from Health Canada. All of our competitors are simply medical appliances. So a walking stick can be considered a medical appliance. The reality is that when you combine these elements together and you put it on the skin, you now have to provide duration. So how long is this going to last for? Is it going to last for 6 hours? Is it going to last for 60? Is it going to last for 120 hours? And the reality is for us, we came down at the midway point. So the tape itself, the adhesive value of the tape should last for about 5 days. The analgesic value of the tape under ideal conditions will last for about 2.5 to 3 days. Mm-hmm. If you're running a triathlon and you're in and out of water and you're sweating on a hot day, that may be down to about 24 hours, but consistently we're getting, again, anecdotally, but consistently we're seeing that people are getting up to 60 hours worth of active pain relief and active anti-inflammation. And when we switch over to our other guests, they can probably articulate a little bit more, because I know that they use it on a regular basis in pretty high intensity situations. So I'll let them elaborate a little bit more on that. But it's menthol and borneo that are actively infused into the glue itself. So as long as the glue is on your body, you're getting that that benefit of that pain relief and that anti-inflammation for about the first 60 hours. The next 60 hours, you're getting the adhesive value of the tape.
Right. And so one comment just came in here is, from a therapist, a mother, and I think these are important things. And again, anecdotal or not, it's still advantage, right? It's advantage to daughter. It's advantage to athletes. So she says it's a great product. We've used it on our daughter both in and out of the water. This is a swimmer, a teenage swimmer with some continual shoulder issue. She's had great success. Adhesion is amazing. You don't need to apply any extra adhesive before applying the tape. When her bicep, right, in the front side of the shoulder flares up, common in swimming, throwers, etc., we've been using MobilityTape instead of taking oral pills, oral medications. Provides both proprioception with scapular positioning, as well as providing the analgesic effect. So it's one person, but that's one person that is using this, that has a therapeutic background, that has a daughter who's been in some discomfort for a fair amount of time, and there haven't been a lot of answers. This allows her to practice. It allows her not to have a bunch of chemical spray on her skin before she enters the water, and then a tape on top of that. So I think it's, again, anybody who's a naysayer, try it out. This is what it's all about. It's trial and error. As much as what we do is based in science, a lot of what we do is based in trial and error. There's also a lot of naysayers to ultrasound, to IFC, to all of these things, yet they're in every single clinic, because whether they have proven value or not, there is an advantage to a certain percentage of the population that uses them. We've had people do ultrasounds with the ultrasound machine off before, and people say, oh, feels great, I'm ready to roll. You know what I mean? So either way, let's transition. With numerous world titles under their belt, Luka and Jenalyn have been wowing audiences around the world with their unique and athletic dance style. In the past year alone, they've toured in over 40 cities and performed in various NBA arenas across North America while producing concept and music videos for companies such as Disney, Warner Brothers, and Universal Music. From being the first ever Canadians on the hit TV show NBCs World of Dance in the USA and Philippines, to performing on the renowned Dancing with the Stars stage in Poland, Luka and Jenalyn have consistently touched the hearts of fans across the world with their emotional storytelling and death-defying tricks. Luka and Jenalyn, I'll let you say hello, and then let's dive in here. This is amazing to have you guys on here. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having us. We really do appreciate it, and we're really, really excited to have a conversation with you all today.
Absolutely, 100%. This is something that's important to have, and again, an open, free-flowing conversation, as we said when we spoke briefly over the phone, is the best type.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you guys to sort of take some time out, I'm sure there's not a lot of downtime in between training and performing and all of those things. So to have a conversation about this and with us on here is great, because we have a fairly therapeutic background in terms of who's picking these podcasts up and the YouTube channel and watching this stuff. But I'm sure the people that are fans of yours as well, it's just another opportunity to connect with you guys in terms of what you're doing and how you're doing. So first off, how are you guys doing with the whole pandemic and being at home and doing the things? You guys are surviving, obviously. How are you thriving in these times? Anything new on the plates?
Well, for us, honestly, it's been difficult. I mean, to be honest with you, it's been difficult for everyone. We obviously, well, not obviously, but we have a funny story about how the pandemic kind of took over and took shape with what we were doing. We were on our way to perform in Dallas for the NBA show.
For the Dallas Mavericks.
For the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah.
So we were coming back there, and everything was slowly starting to close down, right? So you were hearing airports, it was early March, right? So airports were starting to close down. Other places were starting to close down. We were kind of looking at each other. Family members were getting concerned, like, come on, if you guys go, will you guys come back? Yeah. And then ultimately the night before, very, very late, just before midnight, we had a 6 a.m. flight heading out of Canada. And, we got the message over Instagram or Twitter or whatever on all of the news saying the NBA and then concurrently every other major sports network has, suspended their season.
So basically the world shut down.
Yeah, so we were on our way. So it took us by storm, just like everyone. But for us, to be honest with you, and to answer your question directly, it's been great to be able to spend some time with family. the big one, because we were always traveling. I mean, even with what we were doing with school, we were always constantly in and out and missing out on certain things, you know, which is a sacrifice we had to take.
And we just finished a 40-city tour right before we were supposed to head out to
the
NBA. So it was just really nice to like actually take a breath for a second and actually realize, oh, we can actually stay home for a little bit now.
And to cap it off, one thing that's been great as things have reopened, right? So there's been the huge shutdown. Then as things have been reopening, we've been really, because we're locally in Toronto, normally we'd be in Toronto for a couple of days, have to leave, come back. Since we're here, we're really working with a lot of students here and teaching them the proper ways, the proper techniques, the proper fundamentals to be able to do these, you know, lifts and tricks, but in a safe way where we can actually take some time and take them step by step, as opposed to being in a bit of a rush here, there, and, you know, everywhere.
And also being home now, we're actually trying to figure out ways for us that we can now do these exercises instead of going to a gym and training those muscles that we need to in the gym. We'd actually do them at home now and actually work on those home exercises rather than doing them in the actual gyms that were now closed.
There you go. So trying to figure it out, but also there are, you know, advantages with each side of the coin. So it's up to us to you know, reap that fruit.
Absolutely, man. It's been a nice common theme, and you guys both touched on it, and that's fantastic. It's sort of this whole, I always just come back to like, if you have lemons and you know, you might as well make something out of it. And if you don't like lemonade, then just water it down and drink it with like a little bit of flavored water. That's fine. So you're really taking advantage of it, and you come off, you bring up some really good points, you know, and things that have really come to fruition for myself in terms of, you know, expressing a little bit more creativity in this time, having to navigate the space a little bit differently than you normally would have. Absolutely. But you come off of like not being able to talk to family, not being able to talk to friends, not being able to do a lot of the things that you do in your normal life. And now you have more time to advantage some of that stuff, and how that kind of supports you be maybe a little bit more whole and really identify where you want to spend your time and how you want to spend your time, right? So as we go down that road, in terms of how you are, you know, utilize support from family and friends, what comes to mind for me as a therapist is like, what's it like in your world in terms of support? Do you have a support team in terms of therapy or strength and conditioning, or do you have to go out and find these people? Are you constantly moving from person to person? What's that like in your space?
Great question. We actually get that often. We do get that often. And the idea is, you know, in sports, for example, let's just say in basketball at a high professional level, there's a team that's funded by, you know, the sport, you know, the team owners or whatever the case may be in university, their staff. But for us, we're a little bit on our own with what we're doing. I mean, we were very fortunate enough to be a part of a few, you know, high profile shows, Dancing with the Stars and World of Dance and whatever the case may be. But that doesn't mean that they're now hiring a crew to keep our bodies. You know, once we've done the show, it's like, hey, you know what, you guys did great. You know, have a good one. So for us, you know, that's been a big thing. And also we jumped into dance very young. So Jenalyn started dancing at the age of 2.
And we met each other at the age of 13 and 16. So I was 13, he was 16 at the time. So we started very, very young in the style of dance that we did. Exactly.
So we kind of grew up with one another, you know, Jenalyn being the person who's making me stretch and I'm the one making, you know what I mean? So we kind of did it as a team. But in terms of outsourcing those key elements, that's something we haven't been able to do. And, you know, again, this, you know, we're on this call right now, you know, Jay's a big reason why, and what MobilityTape, and that's because we went on the, you know, the second tour. So a lot of time passed since we met each other. Okay. We did a lot of things in the ballroom community, you know, we competed on the world level, we did some shows, but then we went on this tour. And, you know, this tour is, you know, Jenalyn mentioned earlier, 40 cities, but the key element is not necessarily the amount of cities, but the amount of performances we had to do in a single day show. So basically there was 3 acts. There was the season 3 winners, the season 3 runners up, and us. And that was it for the whole 2-hour show. So what we had to do is we had to perform 10 times in the span of 2 hours, but
it was only an hour.
Yeah, or what, hour and a half. It's been anyway,
yeah.
But we had to perform 10 times. And with us, when we're on that stage, there is no smoke and mirrors. There's no like 15 people that can do backflips while we rest in the back.
We're not backup dancers. We are literally the stars of the actual show itself, the live show.
Exactly. Right. So 2 things had to happen. A, Jenalyn made the executive decision for us to do all of our tricks every single time. Every single time we stepped on the floor, we did every single one all the time, every show, which I'm obviously very supportive of. But again, that's her call because she's the one in the air, you know, risking her life. So I wasn't going to make that decision. She was. But also, you know, this, you know, the other fact was that we had to actually get through that. And, you know, if we go down, you know, there's a lot of decisions that have to be made by a number of people, and then also our health and safety. So we were able to actually meet up with Jay a little bit before that. And Jay was actually able to provide us with the mobility tape as a way for us, you know, nothing in return, just, hey, you know, you guys try this, you know, I think this could really help you guys in your particular situation. You know, let me know if you guys like it. And we tried it from the very first show. And we absolutely loved it. And it got to the point that people started seeing, oh, you guys are having some tape. What is that? You know, and then by the end of it, Jay was basically, you know, the whole entire crew and cast was using mobility tape, you know.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that really did save us on that
Yeah,
tour. So
it's true.
It kept us all in one piece.
And to touch on what Jay was talking about in terms of the testimonial we can make, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, we have to do 10 you know, as difficult routines as we can possibly create with just us two. The tape has to be able to stay on for the entire show. I sweat like I took a shower every performance, so that's 10 showers per show.
Right.
And not once did we have an issue with it. And again, this is just us, and you know, and both Jenalyn and myself wore it in different areas for different reasons. But again, you know, and to be honest with you, Jenalyn in particular, her wrists are really an element that bother her, and we have a lot of handholds that are
like this
in the air, and she's
falling.
So the fact that she was able to put tape on her wrists, I'm grabbing onto that tape,
and it's moving around,
and her life is in that hands, because if that falls through, we know that that's not a good position to be in. And we didn't have a single issue. I mean, once all that thing, you know, all that came to fruition, you know, we understood what time it is, and what kind of a great product we were lucky to have our hands on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think like testimonials go a long way in the performance space. You know what I mean? And so you use it, another dancer sees it, that's an advantage you have. Maybe we want to try it out. What does it actually do? And then it starts a conversation. I was mentioning at the beginning that we just had a practitioners retreat this weekend, and as you know, a certain percentage of them hadn't seen the product before, or felt or smelled the product before, and then it was just a matter of like trying it, talking about it, like thinking through this. Where is the disadvantage in trying this, right? And so if there's no disadvantage, then let's give it a go and see where it goes. But you talk about so many things, and the tape obviously helping with certain things, cueing certain things. Maybe I know, Jenalyn, I think you have a kinesiology background now as well, studying kinesiology.
Yes, I do. I'm on my second year, but yes, I really am enjoying kinesiology, and it's something that I'm very passionate about, and I really am interested in because of the athletic therapy background. Because I want to help dancers, I want to help other people, even athletes, with problems that I have experienced before, or things that I can actually learn about as well. So, yeah.
Do you have the books?
Nice.
Jenalyn went in. I've never seen someone get so excited for shopping about books. Like, you know, you get a package, right? And you like start doing a little dance, right? We've all done it, maybe not, I don't know. And it's like clothes, or it's like this new whatever. And she had this little dance, and it was like this many brand new, like, like literally like that. And football was on earlier while I was watching. Guess what she was reading? I mean, so it's obviously a passion. It's something that and even in our classes, to be honest with you, I mean, there's a big part of what we do that invokes body control, body alignment, being able to utilize your body in the right way. And of course, if you're not utilizing your body in the right way, two things happen. A, something can go wrong, but B, you're not actually getting the most out of your body. And again, you know, the no limit, that mobility tape, I mean, exactly, but that's a big thing. So on both ends, in terms of just being able to give them the ability to live and feel that pain free, but also with the knowledge that we try to give them, is so that you can use your body to the fullest, not to have any limitations.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we just came up, I don't know if we came up with it, but this weekend we just, as we were working through this workshop, I don't want to give it away because people weren't there, they weren't really feel it maybe, but this term was called Eunice, you know, like really exploring you, and like the nest that is you, and like this is it, right? So really kind of exploring all of that and allowing yourself to understand what's happening, how it's happening, where it's coming from, and how to add vantage so you get the most effective, efficient motion out of your body, strength, load, rotation, whatever you need to execute on the stage, on the ice, on the court, in your desk job, whatever it might be. Understanding that educational piece. And this is why, like, this touches like big time with where we're at in terms of where we're evolving, where we're going to in terms of developing Eunice, you know, like access to yourself as a therapist, as a practitioner, as an athlete, as a human being. The more we understand this, the better off we are. And I think this is a product that really allows you to, and not to make this an entire session about plugging the product, but like it really does. It shows you where your body is, that topical allows you to feel some of that sensory reception on the skin, right? That you may not necessarily feel. You get the pull from the tape, but then you get the warming or the cooling based on how your body is set up, whatever sensation you feel. So really awesome. And I geek out on all the things that you're talking about. So like the textbooks, absolutely. So if you want to come over like post COVID, or like we can set it up on the porch or just read a bunch of textbooks, we could do that.
Exactly.
But you know, we have a nice network within the athletic therapy world, and it's an integrative sort of model that I like to house and really discuss amongst practitioners, sports chiros, physios, MDs, doctors of osteopathy, you know, these kinds of things. And in my world, in this network, having you guys on, I had a few people reach out and say, like, who do they use? Like, they're like, who? But here you are. You're in Toronto. You may not have a central team, but if you want one, I think we can have a discussion and get you set up with some people that are involved in dance that want to advantage not only themselves, but you, and work reciprocally, just as this sort of product does, but as the profession, you know, drives as well. And so to help you, support you beyond a product, but support you in what you're doing. But also within that, like, you guys learn so much about yourselves, right? And so much about what you need and what movements you need to, like, it's such a dynamic, I don't know, do you guys call it a sport? Like, I would call it beyond sport. It's like performance, it's sport, it's athleticism, it's power. It's like, yeah, death defying. Like, you're throwing somebody up in the air, and like, there's trust building. There's all these other things like that you're building into what you do. How much do you guys teach yourself? You've been doing it forever, you know, from 2, right? And then meeting up, you know, at 13 and 16, like, that's a long time to be doing something. You teach yourselves a lot. Like, a lot of what you do is innate to you now at this point, in terms of, I need to do this because we're doing this throw tomorrow.
Yeah, well, again, like, we've had a lot of movement growing up. Like, Luka has a heavy sports background, and I did a little bit of sports growing up, but it was mostly dance. And with all of that physical literacy that we're actually learning throughout our lifetime, like, we actually get that inside of our bodies, and then we learn from that. And now we're starting to apply it to our everyday lives, and we're starting to apply it to our training. And we're seeing that, like, something that's normal for us is not really normal for the average person or some of our other students, because we have that training, we have that background that we've implicated into our lives throughout our career, and it's really great for us to give that knowledge to other people as well. But yes, we have been learning a lot about ourselves.
And I'll tell you one thing for sure. I mean, time teaches a lot, and
Yes.
and I say that because, you know, when we were younger, and we're 16 and 13, you know, working on new lifts, let me say 2 things. There's a certain method that we wanted to build it. So there's a certain trust, a certain communication, a certain understanding that we're fortunate enough to have from the beginning, you know, in the way we learned these moves. So while we were doing these lifts, you know, Jenalyn was always placed in a position where she was the driving force to want to or not. You know, I, as a person on the floor, can't put someone in a position they don't want anywhere being. But the step beyond that is, you know, we've learned a lot about our bodies as well, because as I said earlier, when we were younger, you know, we could do a practice, leave, boom, we're good, wake up in the morning, like nothing. As we've grown over time, and as that repetition has grown, you know, I, as someone, have learned, it should be a very good idea to stretch before doing things. You know what I mean? Like, doing a cool down. And Jenalyn, to be honest with you, what she's learned through the realms of kinesiology, she's been applying that, to a T in our warm-ups, holding me accountable, holding our students accountable, making sure that everyone is treating their body with the necessary amount of respect and time and effort in order to get that full circle. Because you may get it today, but can you get it tomorrow? Can you get it in a week? Can you get it in a month, year down the line? That kind of shifted from, we got to win this next competition to, we want to be able to do this for a very long time or feel very good for an extended period of time.
And one thing to build off of that is something that I do say is that the longest relationship that you have in your life is with yourself and with your body, the one body that you do have. So you need to take care of it. And we didn't learn that until this tour, because this tour really taught us, because I feel like before we went on this tour, I personally wanted to get out of it in one piece. I was so scared because it was a long tour. It was a 3-month tour that we were on 40 cities. So at that point, I wanted to look for nutritionists. I wanted to look for things like MobilityTape to help us with our bodies so that we'd be able to take care of ourselves and live and get out of this tour in one piece, so that we wouldn't have any injury. And also the other dancers, like, we cared about the other dancers there as well, and we didn't want them to get injured. So having that knowledge is something that you really do need.
And it's also something that's built over time. I keep stressing that enough is that, I can't get mad at us for not knowing about it earlier.
Yeah.
But what I can do is make sure that we find out as much as we can so we can protect our future selves the way that, is necessary.
It's so beautifully said. That long-term relationship that we're all looking for is right here, and so once we do this really well, we can do the other stuff a whole lot better. And again, like, I am just kind of on cloud nine. We just had this retreat this weekend, and it was an amazingly powerful experience of just expressing vulnerability and strength and power, and just really exploring what we call, like exploring the edges a little bit, going outside of yourself and getting a little bit uncomfortable and being comfortable in that space for a little bit, and then coming back to center, and like a whole bunch of that. And I just think it's so beautifully said, and it can't be said enough. And you epitomize this. So as you talked about like educating others in the dance world. I would press from my end would be to try to house some therapeutic side into that as well. So I have a good network. We can talk through Jay. We can connect in the future. Some people in the dance world that already speak the dance language, that have a background maybe a little bit beyond the kin into athletic therapy, into these spaces where tying that component in to really build this outward for you guys in terms of your own longevity, but then housing that with some younger athletes. This is what it's all about, is paying it forward. That's life. That's embodying all of the things that we need to, right? It's transitioning from this dependence on me as a practitioner to independence in you. And that makes me a whole lot better off, right, as a practitioner. But let's come back around to like starting dancing at 2 years old. There's a ton out there in like peds journals and like scientific journals about sports specialization and where this is at and how to do this. And like, I feel like dance as a sport, as an action, is probably one of those sports that, like, you start early, you're okay for a long time, because you're really accessing end ranges and strength. And we talk about sometimes we divide like stable joint, mobile joint, stable joint, mobile joint. But in dance, I really feel, and I haven't spent a ton of time in that space, but there's a couple people this weekend and a couple of people I've spent some time with in the past as practitioners, where you're really building the stability into the mobile components of your body, right? So, but starting at 2, was there ever an element of like burnout? That's a big one they talk about in like kids in hockey when they get into their teenage years, and playing like NHLers when they're 10, and baseball and basketball and all these other things. Has that been an element, like burnout for you guys? Beyond like physical burnout, has there ever been a time like, I've been doing this too long, like this is too much, I can't handle it? Or no, you've been pretty good?
I think because of the creative integrity that dance has to offer,
Yes.
I feel like there wasn't like a phase where I was like, this is boring for me, or I don't want to do this, or I've done this way too long.
Yeah.
And even when I did break my foot, I broke my foot, but then I also broke my 5th metatarsal at the time. I was out for like 12 weeks. And that 12 weeks, it made me really miss dance. And for some people, that downfall or that injury can make them either not want to go back or make them miss it. And for me, it made me miss it. And when I came back to it, I just wanted to push myself even more. So for me, I guess I didn't really have a phase where I didn't like it.
Yeah. On my end, I started out doing a lot of sports, like a lot of sports. So I did everything from track to rugby to football to basketball to tennis and dance. So I was doing a lot of things. And as I was growing, at some point, generally when you get to that age, you have to start choosing, you have to invest more time, meaning there's less time available for other sports. So I had to pick and choose what could I really do. And growing up as a kid, I always wanted to, as funny as it sounds, but I always wanted to be the best in the world at something. And I didn't know what it was, but just my goal was to do something and excel in it. Like that's just the way I was wired. So dance was always something that I thought I could do well in, but why I didn't receive a burnout was because even as I was developing as a quote unquote dancer, there was always a modification or a change to it that made it new. So either it was changing into different dance styles when I met with Jenalyn, then it was taking dance styles and working at it from just a tricks perspective to, as Jenalyn mentioned, the artistic integrity, to telling a story, to learning new elements of dance that you can add into it, to working with new specialists. Then for, you know, lately it was making video. So being able to add the camera as an element and as something you would use as a strength as opposed to as a weakness.
And Luka goes to school for sports media too, so it's been really,
yeah. So it's been a nice little combination
nice
here
combo.
of brains. But the burnout didn't really happen, I guess, for twofold. We were competitive, which helped, and you know, we've seen a lot of burnout due to the structureless entity that is dance somehow, because with the NBA, sure, for example, there is, you know, high school, NCAA, NBA. So without that structure, sometimes you fall a little bit because, you know, I've won this competition. What does this really mean in the grand scheme of things? But for us, that lack of structure allowed us to sort of jump around from world, you know, industry to industry, and find new challenges. And then honestly, the most straightforward answer I could give you is, you know, I was just lucky enough to have Jenalyn there from the step out, you know, from A to B to Z. So I was able to have someone there who was the support system through that journey. And whenever we maybe did feel a little burned out, you know, we could lean on, or at least I could say, at least, you know, you could lean on the person next to you, and create something there that could spark and push you guys forward.
Oh man, it's amazing. All of it is just the connectivity that you have with the action that you take and with each other. Like you can feel it through the conversation, you can feel it through your careers, your success, and you know, I didn't even say that at the beginning or as we've talked, but congratulations on all your success. And I mean that from not only, you know, an external, you know, point of view, but from everything that you've achieved to this point. You know, whether you win, lose, or draw, like the fact that you've dedicated yourself to something for this long and succeeded in staying and working together, like these are things that are go far beyond any sort of trophy or monetary output at the end of the day. And I think that's crucial, and it's great. It's great to see. Specialization in sport is one of those topics. You know, we talk about putting soccer players on the field and playing soccer at the level that Real Madrid is playing when you're 10 years old, or you're playing hockey at the level the NHL is playing when you're 12 years old, and what that does. And what I meant sort of earlier is that those are sort of refined spaces of motion, you know what I mean, where the hip's only moving in a certain range of motion. You're limiting a whole lot of internal, external rotation of certain joints. I feel like, and I could be wrong because again, I haven't spent a lot of time in that space, but you're really expressing a whole lot more motion through all of the joints, loading, stabilizing, doing all these things in a varied positions enough that maybe that's not quite the case. You know, you're not specializing to the point that you're becoming really good at dance and not so good at like human being, right? Whereas in some of these sports, you really become, you know, the humeral migration in the shoulder of a thrower. You know, certain things happen in hip joints with chronic repetitive sports. So that's it's a good talking point. And like gymnastics and martial arts are sort of like the two things that if we can weave through the life of specialized athletes, like keep those two available, and dance certainly, like motion, right? Like movement literacy, I think you used as a term, motor learning, motor knowledge. Yeah, exactly. The less of a motor moron we can be, the whole lot better off we are in the long term. Chronicity of load is a thing too, right? So like, I always come back to like Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors winning last year because it was all about like load management. And they had like a team of people managing chronicity of load. You guys don't have that. So what do you utilize in terms of like managing your chronicity, like the amount of time you're training and all of that? You just kind of listen to your bodies, you talk to each other, you look at a calendar. Like, how do you guys do that?
I think it's a little bit. I think you hit a few of them. I think listening to your bodies is very important, and having that communication between yourself, but also the communication between the two of us, because it's you know, we're kind of a two-headed team here. So you know, I may feel great and really feel like I can do something. And you know, we can do that one more rep and keep it on camera so we have it documented. But you know, if Jenalyn's not feeling at that level or vice versa, the biggest thing for us is really being able to communicate with each other, because a lot of times we see in partnerships that, you know, one person may want X or the other person may be kind of going along for the ride or whatever the case may be. But in order for a partnership to be successful, both individuals need to feel confident about their ability to achieve the goal, but also want the same one. So for me, I think the number one was listening to ourselves, but listening to each other.
Yeah, for sure. And especially with our practices, we usually practice like 5 to 7 days a week.
Yeah,
which is almost every single day.
For a lot of hours.
When we're doing that, we're not actually practicing tricks every single time. So if we're not practicing tricks, we're working on the creative aspect of things. We're working on choreography, things that are more mental rather than physical. So we'll balance it out between those two rather than just focusing on the heavy lifting and the tricks and everything that will be, you know, very hard on our bodies.
Yeah, exactly. Just over years of experiencing, finding different ways to be impactful without necessarily needing to be dynamic has been a huge thing for us. So not having to do 100 tricks, but finding the right way to make one of these tricks feel even more impactful than those 100.
Yeah.
But
and one thing that we do pride ourselves on is that he's never really dropped me with the death-defying tricks that we've done, and for us being
never really dropped me.
He's nearly dropped me, but he's never dropped me.
and that's also because when we do these tricks, we do them in slow motion. So people would think that we need momentum to execute a trick. There's a trick that we do where Jenalyn is above my head, right? So she's here with both of her legs out facing forward. She drops through my legs while I'm holding onto her hands. As she pops through with her legs, I catch her hips with my hips, and we're still holding on to the same arm. So you would think ideally you'd need a lot of leverage to swing through and come forward, but we do that entire move in slow motion. And that's one of the reasons why no one has been dropped.
And for us, it makes me feel better doing it slower because I can go through the whole mechanics rather than having to figure it out in like 2 seconds or half a second. The moment that I'm going from up top to the bottom, I'll actually be able to go through it, talk through it with him as I'm going through the trick very, very slowly in slow motion. Now I'm also using those muscles, feeling all my muscles activating as I'm doing those tricks in slow motion, rather than just hoping for the best and then just like, you know, doing it for trial and error. So.
Exactly. That's something that's not taught as much as we would like it to be in terms of other people, but that's something we try to preach, is that if you can't do it in slow motion, you can't do it.
That's awesome. That's a great take home for so many things, not just in dance. Like, you got to be able to understand the why, the how, and then you got to be able to execute it at top speed, bottom speed, in between speed, all of those things. And I think that's massive. And you also bring up like some really great stuff, because I'm looking at this being like trying to picture that happening, and like I could tell you some stuff about how to load a hip and throw a baseball and like play some hockey and shoot a puck and skate and do these things. But when it comes to dance and when it comes to therapists in the space, I think it is so crucial. And this is where as a profession, I love what we do as athletic therapists, because we're on the sideline, and it's not just standing there and waiting for somebody to get hurt. It's standing there and really identifying with what's happening and understanding what parts of the body need to be utilized. And so I think definitely in this space, having obviously at the highest caliber that you're working at, but definitely in terms of the education of the younger athletes too, is having somebody with experience in the dance world and then has moved into Jenalyn, like in the kinesiology world or like into the therapeutic world, will make a massive difference in the educational realm for you guys and supporting you in your careers too. So anybody out there as a therapist, like trying to get experience in this place or the space that you're going to work in, makes a massive difference for your athletes too. This has been awesome. I don't know how it's been almost an hour already, but let's keep this rolling. Yeah, it's been quick. It's been great. It's been fantastic. A lot of depth in a short period of time here. I'll just throw this out there to anybody who is live right now. If you have a question, please type it into the chat box and we'll try to drop this in here. Well, here's one right here. Can you give us examples? One, how you navigate costumes and showing, not showing your tape, aside from using like a beige colored tape, and how you're adjusting the stretchiness of the tape for the greater amplitude of your range of motion. This is coming from somebody from a dance background, so she understands a lot of this stuff. So how do you navigate costumes and showing or not showing the tape, aside from using like a beige colored tape? That'll be the first part.
Okay. So, do you want me to do that? Or you?
Sure.
Well, you're probably gonna get two different answers here. I'm gonna be very honest with you, Mel. I personally, doesn't bother me at all if the tape is showing or not showing.
Because like, usually he'll have it on his back just because.
Or down an arm or on an elbow. It honestly, to me, I never thought about, oh, I'm showing this tape or whatever the case may be. Again, MobilityTape does offer a lot of different colors. So if you're wearing a black, outfit, well, guess what? MobilityTape does have a black therapeutic, the heating therapeutic tape. Beige obviously works as well if you really want to hide it. But for me, I didn't really feel like I needed to hide it. I guess maybe if you're going into a specialized competition where there are rules against it, that's a different conversation. But in terms of a showcase, I didn't see anything wrong with having tape, as long as my mind says, let me just execute the performance to the best of my abilities. We got another 50 of these to do, and let's keep it moving. So that was my way of doing it. Did you have anything in particular?
It really depends on the cut of the costume. For me personally, because sometimes it'd be a dress and sometimes it'd be more of a shorts bodysuit type of deal. So, for me, if I'm doing it on my shoulder or something and it's like mesh, I'll usually put it on the back, but for me, I usually liked the pink just because it didn't pop as much on my skin tone per se. But
it's preference. That's more of a preference, especially if it's just you as an artistic individual portraying a show. It's just what you feel comfortable with. But again, for me, I went with performance over look. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if I can execute the trick, that was really the main thing on my brain.
And in terms of stretchiness, I guess I personally wouldn't stretch it as much as I would usually do it if I'm just walking around the house every day and just having it on, because of the range of motion that I'm actually having in a performance. I wouldn't stretch it as much. I would have less stretch in it, but I would usually just have it there for the heat activation.
Exactly. And also, again, you would anchor this. You would anchor the individual part that touches the skin, and you would absolutely make sure that you would do the necessary rubbing of it, creating that friction. Then you would put it over to the proper amount and then re-anchor it again. But as long as you place it before you're on stage, whatever the case may be, I'm telling you, we've really had zero problems with it. So I was lucky enough to have Jenalyn do it on my back, whatever the case may be. So we would just throw it on, do our show, and keep it moving.
And it hasn't really restricted any of our movement.
0%. Yeah, I've never once had a move that I didn't think I could do because of the tape.
Great insight. And I know. Yeah, a great insight, and you're using it with each other. You can learn how to use it. You can learn how to apply it. You can do it yourselves, and you don't need to have. If I could just interject, hire somebody.
The one beautiful part was it's a preference, right? So for what each and every individual is going to have the way that they want to put it, a way that works for them, a way that they think looks physically pleasing. So that's the beautiful part about MobilityTape, is that you don't have to put it on this one way for it to be effective. You spoke about it a little bit earlier, actually, James. It could be affected in a multitude of ways. The main element is that you feel good with it.
You can cut it into a shape of a heart and put it on here.
If you really want to. But the spider tape is cool. Spider tape's probably my favorite in terms of aesthetics. Once you get the spider with the 4 fingers or whatever, that's probably my preference. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah. Well, I'll try the heart out later tonight and see how that goes, and I'll let everybody know what that's like. But yeah, I know Mel comes from a background of performance as well, where certain sports have rules against that, and we started that dialogue. Mel started that dialogue with Jay already in terms of navigating that space a little bit. So great questions and great responses. Obviously, you talk about showing or not showing the tape. It's amazing the differences, right? Like in certain sports, you're not allowed to show weakness by showing tape, and then other sports like football, I worked in football, and they're like, spat me up. I'm like, you have never even had an ankle injury. Why am I taping over your shoe? What is going on here? I'm not quite sure what we're trying to achieve here, but you're gonna have to go see somebody else to get taped over to your shoe for never having an ankle injury before. Anyway, if it was MobilityTape and it was an analgesic or something, or it changes the performance of anyway, that's not I digress here. So we'll just kind of jump ship. Jay, let me shift back to you, man. What education do you offer to practitioners and or athletes in terms of application, or just learning a little bit more about the product?
James, I just have to say thank you, and I'm so grateful to be on tonight with you and with this great cast that's here. The conversation has been fantastic, and really it comes down to empowerment. Applying tape is not a complicated process. Pretty much anybody can do it, but to do it well and to do it with good thought and good understanding of what the fundamentals are that you're trying to achieve, you need to understand a little bit about the biomechanics and about the physiology that's behind it and what you're trying to accomplish. To that end, most of the therapists that I've come across have taken and have learned about kinesiology tape in school, but there is a knowledge gap that they suffer from in terms of being comfortable enough to apply it on a regular basis to a multiple of different situations. So we have courses that we design based on the audience that we're presenting them to. So if they're massage therapists, if they're athletic therapists, if they're kinesiologists, if they're, if they're dance moms, if they are swim coaches, if they are volleyball coaches, and there's a group of them that want to learn how to use the product effectively, we have created our educational platform based on the ability to tailor it to both time and intensity of the audience that we are presenting it to. So anybody who is interested in learning more about that, I encourage them to reach out to you, and through you, they can connect with us, and we can have that conversation. But it's about empowering them to be the best that they can be and to deliver the best results that they can for their clients and for their athletes.
Yeah, and that component of it is massive as well, right? Like that active listening piece, right? Like, what do you need if you're in swimming? And I've never worked with swimmers before. Like, what is it that you're considering in swimming that you're not considering in table tennis or volleyball or whatever, right? So all these things are component parts of, again, how Jay and I have aligned is like it's value and it's active listening and it's being a participant in other people's wellness and health. And like empowerment is an adjective that I have put on my slogan, on my freaking whatever logo or whatever else is out there. Educate, empower, impact. And I think this product mimics and follows those three adjectives to a T, which is why I will support it, even if I'm not applying it on a regular basis to athletes because of whatever reasons. I'll put it on, and if athletes like it, I'll continue to put it on. We talk about taping and we talk about the usage of advantage. I just want to come back around as a therapist, and like there are conversations that I've had in my therapeutic career with students and with other practitioners that said, you better know what the purpose of each piece of tape is that you put on somebody's body. And so when we're talking about a stabilizing tape job or a supportive tape job, this might not be the product. So don't get this idea that MobilityTape is going to be the static structure that's going to create the Luka tape effect. That's not it. But when it comes to putting some MobilityTape underneath your ankle tape job, when somebody's already indicated to return to sport, now you're talking advantage. Now you're getting leverage from the firmer, thicker, different style of tape with the analgesic underneath, right? And I think that's maybe where we go in terms of like understanding a little bit more. So yeah, putting the tape on, trying it out, try it on yourself, try it on your uncle, try it on your dog, and see if you like it. Because if you like it or your dog likes it, then that's good. Then maybe they won't bark as much or something. Who knows? Or your athletes aren't going to bark as much because they're not quite in as much pain as they were before. So this has been fantastic. Let's call it 5 more minutes. So if anybody has a question, and if you guys are okay with 5 more minutes, I know we've gone beyond the hour, but this has been an easy conversation. Holy smokes, this has been fantastic. A lot of power in Luka and Jenalyn being on here and being the consummate professionals, and just like the output that you give and all of the things on the stage and in your performance. And I don't know, let's connect off camera or off this call in the future. I'd love to come and check out some of your educational pieces as well, because I think for me, that's a big part. And I'm not a dance guy, but we have a youngster and maybe he would benefit from some of this too. But in my own world, like the athletic therapy world and movement, like the more variability, the better. The more access to range, the better. The more access to you, the better. And so this is where it all kind of connects on this side. So and Jay, obviously, like the support for this podcast and Zoomcast and connecting us together with Luka and Jenalyn and supporting through membership and CEU support with welcome packages and things like that. It's been great. And I think a lot of therapists are starting to get their hands on this stuff. And I know a lot of the buzz is out there in terms of, you know, what could this be? And now is an opportunity to jump in and try it out. So this has been fantastic. So again, this is session 40 of First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy roundtable with Jay Noronha, founder of MobilityTape, at Luka and Jenalyn, star performers, the dynamic duo of Canada, dance performance. Amazing to have you guys on. Maybe just one more as before we go. But Luka and Jenalyn, in terms of color of tape choice, if you were to put it on walking around the house, what color do you reach for? And then let's say neutral tone, I don't know, like I don't know, I don't even know what color. Let's say you're wearing a blue ensemble, what color tape are you going with? Let's do that one.
I already said mine, but it's pink.
Yeah, pink.
Even if I'm wearing like a blue ensemble, it would be pink, or it would be blue.
All right.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
Honestly, well, two things actually. First off, James, we want to both thank you for having us on here as well, and also we spoke about a little bit on the phone, but we've been watching what you have been able to create here, of course, with the supporting cast, but being able to have these conversations in a time where this information isn't exactly readily available, and individuals all over need to be able to have this information, have this conversation, and really feel at ease with the nature of this entire event. So for the both of us, we've enjoyed every second, whether it was from the phone calls to this now to hopefully being able to connect with you afterwards. We have enjoyed. It has been an amazing experience, and it's a really, really positive thing that you're doing in a time that is really needed. So that's the first thing I want to throw. The second thing is that for me, honestly, any color, like I am the least picky color person. Like nice. Green I love, blue I love. I don't mind the tape sticking out personally, just me being me. I'm not saying it's a fashion accent, but it's kind of a fashion accent, like if I'm gonna be honest with you. So if I have a blue ensemble, I have no problem going with a green or a pink, to be honest with you. But it doesn't matter. And again, if you ever always want to keep it cool, keep it low, the black and the beige are the two ways to go. But I'm a little bit flashier, so I got no problem with a nice little lightning green or a good cobalt blue. I'm good with it.
Yeah, nothing wrong with a little flash, a little pizzazz. Absolutely. Why not? And I appreciate the support. Having you guys on here. There's definitely time for one more, Mel. Ask the question. Sorry, I'm saying yes on your behalf. There's one more question coming in here, but I really appreciate you having taking the time and supporting this as we move forward. October happenings, I'll post tomorrow on Instagram. The next guests through October. Please also note October 21st, a special seminar with a couple people who are in the sports psychology realm. We're going to talk about addiction and mental health in sport and in the performance space. And that's going to be a big one. We'll send out details in terms of registration and how that's going to work, but 100% of the proceeds and registration from that October 21st seminar, which is a Wednesday, will go to advocates for mental health and addiction in the sport world. And that's a big one that stemmed from one of our sessions with Brady Leovold and his Puck Support Foundation and all of that moving forward. So that's an added. There'll still be the 4 Sundays throughout October, which are going to be rich and rewarding and all of those things. But please circle the 21st, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the mental health and addiction in sport. Here's a question. Can you tell us about your warm-up, recovery, and habits between performances? Like what you personally do to transition or reset? I think that's a great question. Absolutely. Yeah.
So for warm-up, what we usually do is a little bit of a stretch, muscle activation. I usually do more ballet based exercises to activate my muscles, to get ready for some of the tricks that we're doing that day, or any lessons that we may have.
A lot of core.
A lot of core based exercises, and leg activation and back activation.
So for Jenalyn,
you're sorry to interrupt you, but you're speaking Mel's language. She does a lot of ballet, works with a ton of dancers in the Ottawa area, and I think she's just eating this up right now over there, which is fantastic. And I'd love to connect you guys as well. Sorry, Luka, go ahead.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, with what we do, right, a lot of what I do, my role in a lift and trick is to generate power. So whether it's through my lower back, whether it's through my hip flexors, whether it's through my upper body, I'm there to generate a lot of power. So I'm going to be doing a lot of over-the-shoulder presses. I'm going to be doing a lot of squats. I'm going to be doing a lot of lunges. Get low, get that power, and move it. Now, Jenalyn, what she's going to do, she's going to take that momentum that I generated, and she's going to be able to use it and make it look absolutely way more beautiful than it should. Like, that's the idea, right? So Jenalyn's going to be doing a lot of the core exercises, a lot of the body activation, making her body move as one. So when I give that generated power, she's able to flip up into the move as opposed to, clunk its way up. So 2 different types, 2 different approaches, but that's why when we're giving our lessons, we're able to go on both ways and be able to bring both people up to speed.
And for Luka, as he's activating his muscles with his back and his chest presses, he actually uses me as his weight because
functional, beautiful.
Yeah, because what is this called?
Using a dead weight.
Yes, using a dead weight. We're using a bar, how you would usually use it in a gym with a bar. It's a different type of weight. You're not usually lifting a a moving body. Whereas when you're lifting a body, you have different moving parts. So for me, it gets me activating my muscles differently, and that's how we start our practices. And it also gets him feeling, okay, how am I feeling today? Am I off? Am I not stable in that particular day when we're starting practice?
Exactly.
So
because again, we're coming in, we're both variables, as consistent as constant as we try to be with repetition and commitment to doing it correctly. We're both variables, so we want to be able to feel each other's variability and be able to know it before we try to do a double flip or whatever the case ends up.
This is such a beautiful, like, symbiotic relationship and like forced transition. And like, I just see a lot of parallels in terms of like integrative sports health, integrative sport medicine,
Absolutely.
integrative medicine, where like one practitioner to the other, you better be able to make that transition smooth, because when it's clunky, it doesn't work for the athlete. You know what I mean? And I think like this is beautiful. All right, so I just pulled up our guests, and I'll just run through this before we say goodnight. October 4th, next Sunday, Miles Coldwell of Coldwell Athletic Therapy. If you don't follow this guy on Instagram, he's amazing. Younger guy, he's out in Nova Scotia doing his thing. And I've kind of fallen in love with a lot of the posting that he does through movement and activation and all these kinds of things. And he was kind enough to say, sure, I'll come on. Why do you want to talk to me? But very humble East Coaster, which will be amazing to have him on and sort of tap into what he's doing out there. On the 11th, a student from Sheridan College will be on here. And I think it's always important to tap into the student body from the athletic therapy world to see how they're perceiving things, how they're interpreting things, navigating the space that is COVID, but also navigating the space that is personal growth and identification of like where we're going in the future. So that's a big one on the 11th. Again, the 18th will be Drew McDonald of the Toronto Blue Jays. He is an assistant therapist with the Toronto Blue Jays. If they're not playing in the playoffs at that point in time, then he will be our guest on the 18th. The 25th is Becky Swan, and she does a ton of work with Vancouver law enforcement. She's just started a bunch of, I think it's called Blue Vitality out there in Vancouver through Instagram, and she'll be a fantastic resource to talk about some other things. Again, Wednesday, October 21st, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the shot you don't want to take, mental health and addiction awareness in the sports space in athletics, with Jens Kasten, who's a sports psychology coach, and Mike Stroh, who is a mental health and addiction counseling psychology MA, so candidate, just finishing up his schooling with that. And I think that'll be a big one. But needless to say, this has been fantastic. The time has flown by. It's been an amazing conversation here on session 40, First Star Let's Chat, brought to you as always by MobilityTape, the only heat activated kinesiology tape, having our founder Jay Noronha on here, Luka and Jenalyn, sharing your story and sharing your insight with this product and your performance world and your lives. So we thank you. I thank you for letting us in, all of you. It's been fantastic. I'll wish you good night, and let's connect after this and make this thing go. Sounds
like a plan. Thank you for having us, James.
Thank you.
And, we will link up hopefully soon. Everyone be safe, be good, as Jay would say.
All right, good night. We'll hit record, stop, and we're
Thanks again for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of this community. Check us out online, firststartherapy.com. That's FIRSTAR therapy.com. Or email us with feedback, consult@firststartherapy.com. CONSULT@firststartherapy.com. On Instagram @firststar.therapy, and our podcast host @letschat.at. This is First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast.